Everything Everywhere All at Once. You actually want to talk about this film. I do kind of want to address the elephant in the room. Now we're talking about performances.
I think I know what you're talking about.
What are your thoughts on people thinking that this movie is overrated?
All right, so this is where it gets really deep here.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tea and Popcorn Podcast. I am your host, Meagan. Here we talk about film, culture, and behind the scenes trivia. And today I have my guest, Brandon. Brandon, welcome to Tea and Popcorn.
Oh my god, it feels like an honor to be in this podcast. Knowing the fact I've seen your content for like a very long time. It's been quite extraordinary to see this happen.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we've been mutuals for a while. I think how long? Like, were you on Stardust at all?
Yes, I was on Stardust.
Yeah, so maybe since the Stardust days, if not, definitely like Instagram. But yeah, we've been internet mutuals, but like this is like the first time we're actually like talking to each other.
Yes.
Instead of just like on a Discord server or like just DMing.
Yeah, for sure. And I know like you're also like friends with my friend from Stardust, Joe, as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when I told Joe, when I saw him in a live with you, I was like, oh shit, he knows Meagan too. This is so cool, and I know Joe more than I know you. So I was like,
like, how about that? The internet is like, it just makes the world smaller, you know? But yeah, no, Joe the Film Bro, that's who we're talking about. Yeah, he's awesome. Check out his content as well. But yeah, without further ado, we'll just dive into this conversation about Everything Everywhere All at Once. So, Brandon, you actually wanted to talk about this film. Like, what do you love most about Everything Everywhere All at Once?
well, I like the fact that nowadays in mainstream cinema that we usually get, it's not often we get a film that is this original and thinking outside the box, that even if there are films that do go outside the box, this one takes it like a step further while also diving into family generational trauma through an Asian perspective, which I rarely see in mainstream cinema nowadays, that I feel has such a cultural significance towards people like me as an Asian person that feels pretty much seen in cinema, that I love to see, while also making it a huge like love letter or tribute to like Asian cinema out there, especially with Michelle Yeoh as an actor.
Absolutely. I could definitely see that. Like, and thinking back to 2022 when this movie came out, it just felt like a breath of fresh air. Especially with how they depicted the multiverse. Like, I loved it. And this was like during the era where it was like there was a multiverse film like every other it seemed like every other month there was like another one coming out. Specifically from the MCU, but let's just kind of dive into this one. Like, describe Everything Everywhere All at Once in your own words. Like, for someone that hasn't seen it, how would you describe this film and the plot?
Well, as we talked about, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a science fiction, existential, like multiverse film that dives into, like I said, an Asian perspective with an Asian family who works at a laundry place trying to go through taxes, and until her husband, who came from a different alternate dimension, gave her this headset that activates her to go into different versions of the alternative universe to destroy this person named, this is going to be interesting to say, Ajobu Tobaki, who is a menace to every multiverse out there, and it's pretty much up to her to stop this monster from destroying every multiverses.
Yeah, that's a really good description. Like, that's spot on. Like, it's a lot, but like, it's so crazy because it's like you kind of get a sense of the plot the more you watch it. Because sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, there's a lot going on. And actually, I have some trivia about this a little bit, or at least like about the summary.
Okay.
So on before the the trailer was released, IMDb, they actually put the synopsis. It's about a 55-year-old Chinese woman trying to finish her taxes.
Which sounds like the most boring film ever, which is kind of
Uh-huh.
insane that that's how it's described as at that time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I kind of think about like the Barbie movie when, talks of it was coming out, but like the description was like Barbie goes into the real world, and that was like it. It wasn't like that descriptive at all. But I just find this synopsis, like the one before the trailers and things came out, it was just like that simple. But like in the root of the film, yeah, like she is trying to finish her taxes.
Yes, in a way, yes. Even though it's not the main point of the film, but it's definitely what kind of starts the whole ordeal.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, this film is directed by the Daniels, who also did Swiss Army Man, and they also did the music video for Turn Down for What, which is
Hmm.
like one of the most insane music videos ever. I love it.
Yeah,
um, ha-
that's kind
oh,
of
go
like the
ahead.
start of it with their the director's like idiosyncrasy styles, where it's like really weird and really wacky and out there that you don't really see from anything really from these like famous directors that really put their style out there to make it really weird but still try to make it somewhat grounded, at
Mhm.
least more especially with this film, especially since their previous film Swiss Army Man was definitely leaning more into like the wackier aspects of the film with a little bit of groundness. And this one I feel like it's a perfect mixture.
Mhm. Most definitely. Considering like their background and everything, what do you kind of find that's like their signature style? Like how would you describe the Daniel style?
How would we say this? So like I think it's for me, it's like the style where it tries like every single style that has a little like spectrum of wackiness. Sometimes it gets a little silly. It's like, oh, like hot dogs for fingers. Or like to the point of like being somewhat juvenile at points, using like a freaking dildo as a weapon and
Yeah.
like just annihilate the person, but it doesn't like lean in either way. It just kind of just like does its own thing with the whole multitude of styles that you are left not knowing what they're going to do next. Uh,
Mhm.
and we get a like again a little familiarized with their style with Swiss Army Man, where
Mhm.
pretty much that has like Daniel Radcliffe as like a dead person that talks and it's
And
really
he farts all the
weird.
time.
Yeah, and to the point has like the best usage of the Jurassic Park theme song in
Yeah.
that film. That's the best part of the film. That it just gives that sense of like whimsical wackiness to it that can be a little alienating for some, but like when you like really like accept the absurdist comedy of it all,
Mhm.
it really is leaves you on a quite an experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I it's definitely absurdist, and I think that's how I described it when I did my review back in 2022. Like I said it's definitely absurd, but that's like the best way to describe it. So, with all that being said, they do kind of ground this in reality,
Hmm.
because it is an immigrant story.
Hmm.
So, like, how do you think the background of it being an immigrant story? How do you think it kind of ties into this narrative?
It is very interesting how it all ties in together, especially when it dives to like generational trauma from a family's perspective, where Evelyn was like a little like not quite accepting towards her daughter being a lesbian that's in
Mhm.
relationship with her girlfriend, and she was really afraid of like telling her own dad about her daughter dating a lesbian. And it kind of like reminds me of like at least from what I remember from like Asian background and something like that. It's like back then like being gay or being part of the LGBTQIA plus community from an Asian perspective is like a no-no, like a huge no-no. There's a lot more
Mhm.
conservative back then than here essentially.
Mhm.
And so and with it diving into, like, immigration story when it comes to, like, miscommunication and, like, some, like, microaggressions in terms of, like, the IRS girl, Jamie Lee
Mhm.
Curtis's character,
Mhm.
just being a little, like, aggressive towards, like, the family who probably has no idea what's going on. It really
Mhm.
just leaves you, like, feeling like there is some form of, like, connection and understanding from the family's perspective in terms of, like, what they went through and what the daughter's going through that is in a different sense of culture than the family's, culture in that perspective.
Mhm. Yeah. I get that for sure, and, like, you could also see just by visually the influences of, Daniel Quan, kind of putting in his story or his
Mhm.
family story in this too. Actually, I do have some trivia about this because, I mentioned about fun facts. We have some trivia.
Yes. I love it.
um so actually, Daniel Kwan, he took some inspiration for the family's apartment, Evelyn's apartment and home, as kind of like he took inspirations from his grandparents' home for like the set design and everything. So I think that's really cool. It kind of adds that personal touch. You know what? And even though I don't have an Asian background, like when you kind of go into like old grandparents' houses and stuff, like you definitely see some like elements. Like there's a lot of like clutter, but there's also like its homeliness too, you
Mhm.
know?
Like
And like I don't know. I was like, I kind of find that like low key relatable.
Yeah, no, I relate relate with that too, especially since my grandparents at the time were like pretty chill, pretty relaxed, especially with like my grandma who is Korean, always like tells me you got to eat, Brandon. You gotta eat. You look so like skinny. We gotta like give you so many foods. And in my head, when I was like a kid, I was like, ooh, like free food is all delicious. Like, oh, thank you so much, grandma. Not realizing like, oh, she want me to like gain some weight or muscle. So I was like, and especially when Evelyn was saying like, just like saying to her daughters like, oh, like you are getting fat, and I'm just like, I was like, I felt that from an Asian background perspective.
It's so funny that you like mentioned that too. There was this like short-lived TikTok trend talking about like the similarities between like the black communities and Asian communities, and like one of them was talking about like unwarranted comments about your body, and I'm like, that is so true because we all do that in the black community too. And like how much you're eating, how many plates you take during Thanksgiving or during the cookout, like that is something.
We're just super conservative of our own body, apparently.
Oh, but
Oh.
anyway, I digress. But kind of going back to the story and everything, originally the writers wanted to make Evelyn's character, which is Michelle Yeoh's character, she's the main character. They actually originally wanted her to have ADHD and also be a professor, which I think is like interesting. Like this could have been a totally different movie because of how distracted she is by all these visions and whatnot. So they kind of wanted to add another layer to it. But actually, during the process of them trying to come up with this possible idea, Daniel Kwan realized that he actually has ADHD, like undiagnosed ADHD. So I'm like, that's interesting trivia. How do you think this film would have gone if they went that direction? Just out of
Um,
curiosity.
it would have been a very interesting ordeal. I mean, especially since like it does feel like there's a lot of like dissociation in this film, especially from Evelyn, who is just wandering out, and it probably also like with the whole dissociation, she probably also like some other like fantasy land or other alternate dimension and stuff like that, where she probably is diving into like those what if isms essentially, and it would have been very interesting to dive into that. I mean, I guess maybe in a way it does like portray maybe like ADHD for Evelyn. I'm not too informed over ADHD, but like so take it back with a grain of salt. But I feel like it would have been more interesting what they could have done with that.
Yeah, no, it was kind of fascinating. And, kind of in hindsight, without even like realizing it, it kind of feels a little bit ADHD coded, even though it's not, that
Hmm.
story. But it's like, oh, it could be interpreted as that as well.
Hmm.
Um, Overall, like this movie has gotten like so much. critical acclaim. Like it won Best Picture, which was so exciting. Like I think it was really warranted. Like it's worth it. Like I think this was such a good movie. I mean, Michelle Yeoh won Best Actress. That was awesome. Kiwi Quan
Yes.
won for Best Supporting
Yes.
Actor. Like that's cool. And then like basically this film swept award season. I think it also got a
Mhm.
best adapted screen or best screenplay, I want to say, but I don't
I think
know.
so, yeah.
But yeah, it's just like it swept award season. Like they won the SAG for best ensemble cast. I mean, obviously they did. But like why do you think this film both like resonated with audiences and also critics?
Well, before I get to that, I will say, like, when you were bringing up, like, award season, it just, like, brings me back to, like, when I was watching the show Last of Us, and I knew, like, the last episode was going at the same time as, like, Oscar season, and I pretty much thought to myself, I'm just gonna watch my show and have a good time, but I also have a feeling that this movie is going to sweep award season, and as I was watching it, then I heard, like, it won Best Picture, and I was like, look, a win is a win. Like, I love the fact that I'm winning on both ends. So, like, I didn't have to, like, worry a single goddamn thing about it.
Yes, like I was so hyped. Actually, I was at a conference for work and I was like at this networking event and then I was just like, look, I gotta dip out because I need to watch the Oscars. So I like went back to my hotel room and like was kind of like looking on my phone and stuff. And it was just like, no, like literally, it like the people I met, they were so cool. And I like told them I did like movie
Mhm.
reviews and stuff too. And then they were like, oh yeah, no problem, and they were like asking me about it and stuff. It was kind of cool like after the fact, but yeah, I just remember like I just got back and then like I just ordered some DoorDash and I was just like seated just watching everything. But also like commenting on my Instagram story about what was going on and whatnot.
It was a
And
huge win. And the
it
fact
was
that
a
it,
moment.
yes, and the fact it beat, like, Return of the King as, like, the most award or something like
Yeah.
that is quite an achievement.
It is, and, like, that was just, like, such a great year for A24, which is
Yes.
the production studio that did it, because they also, like, swept, like, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, like, they
Mhm.
won for that, and then also, what was it? Hair and Makeup for The Whale, and then, like,
Mhm.
just, all these other films, like, it was, like, a great year for A24.
Yeah. It like,
Mhm.
it's why A24 remains to be my
Mhm.
favorite studio. So there's a
Yeah,
little
they
bias
are.
in terms of it. But
But yeah, oh, kind of going back a little bit. Why do you
mhm.
think both like the critics and the film community, and then just like all the Oscars voters, like why do you think they voted that direction? Because it really is not like a typical Oscar film, like whatsoever.
I gather here based on what my reasoning wise is because, like, this movie is, in a way, is experimental, but it's also, like, super accessible for people. It's, like, very rare for, like, someone to, like, not like this film or think it's too artsy in a way. And also, like I said before, like, we don't really get films this original in a long time. And the fact that, like, with the attention that this film had even before award season, where people have, like, said, me included, that's like one of the best films of all time, and well, for me,
Hmm.
my personal favorite, and definitely one of the best A24 films of all time. It definitely, like, was a huge step forward for, like, A24 films and also for mainstream audience to realize, like, oh, shit, we actually can get, like, films like this nowadays. And the fact that, like, it made such an success in the box office as it is, it's like no wonder, like, this movie was getting so much recognition from not only the public but also the critics as well, to the point that, like, it had so much award buzz. Like, we but even with that said, like, we didn't really know it was going to go that far in terms of it being so much awards that it got from it, because in a way it is, like, accessible and that is grounded but also makes people, like, relate to this story or even connect with it in a way. For in case, like, they're suffering through, like, family troubles like this movie.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely think it's a universal story, and
Mhm.
it's just kind of like it was just so different, and I think that's what people liked about it. There was like, wow, it's actually a unique film that even though it talks about the multiverse, which was like so, prevalent, it's just like
Mm.
it just does it in a different way and almost like a more digestible way because it's its own standalone story. Like, we're not gonna get a Jobu Dapaki sequel. We're not gonna get any of that. We don't have to watch like 10 other films to understand it. Like, we just have to watch this film and watch it a few times. Like, let's be honest. But
Mhm.
it's like, but you kind of get something different every single watch. And I think like another thing that makes it stand out is the editing. Like, the
Yes.
editing is so freaking good in this. Like,
Mhm.
it really helps break down the complexities visually. Like, you could have this movie on in the background and kind of understand what's going on. What was like one of your favorite scenes or sequences?
Well, when it comes to favorite scenes, there's just too many of them to think in my head. Because I could think like the funniest one where it comes like the phallic statue one. That shit was like beautiful. Or
And how
like,
they like blurred him out, like that was so
yes,
funny. Yeah.
I
If you
love
know, you
that.
know.
If you definitely know, you know. And there's like some highlight scenes where like there's like this green color that feels like it's very inspirational, like One Car Y kind of style on that perspective.
Mhm.
Or like the scene between Evelyn and her daughter Joy with her speech in the car. And, like that one was like
Yes.
so like beautiful. Like that was actually one of the scenes that actually made me cry.
Yeah, it is so beautiful, like, and we'll get more into that scene a little bit later when we
Hmm.
really go into the plot, but
Yes.
I just really like how they split in between the different worlds and, like, the editing and effects are top notch, and then I have some other trivia. So, actually, the visual effects team, it was only a team of 9 people doing it, which is so impressive.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That
Exactly
I don't know.
why. Uh-huh. But yeah, I mean, it was a smaller production, but I think they did like a great job and like it only took I think 40 days to make or 38 days. So it's just like yeah, like smaller production, smaller film schedule. You could definitely see the heart and soul of this project, which
Yes.
I think is absolutely amazing. And kind of speaking of that too, like you get actresses like Michelle Yeoh, who is like they truly give her her flowers, and she's actually quoted to say that this film really took her out of her comfort zone. And to quote her, I was suddenly doing comedy, physical comedy, action, horror, every single genre all packed in one, and jumping in and out of it. It was such a gratifying experience. I've waited a long time to receive a script like this. Because you get older, the box gets smaller and smaller. And that
Hmm.
really does show like well, she's been in the industry for like decades. Like I think since
Yes.
the 80s.
Hmm.
And she, started to get her flowers with Crazy Rich Asians, but this was like the moment that like really solidified it. And I just love
Hmm.
it because it's like they could have had a 20-year-old experiencing all this stuff. Like it could have been like another coming of age story, but I
Hmm.
just like how it's a 55-year-old woman and a 55-year-old woman of color and a 55-year-old Asian woman who is an immigrant. Like, I just love it. It's like all of these groups that are underrepresented that are, the lead of this film that's an action comedy. Like, it's amazing.
Yes, I 100% agree with that as well. And it's kind of insane that Michelle Yeoh did say like, oh, like this is what she wanted, knowing the fact that she was literally like risking herself for art for like Jackie Chan films. I think it's like Super Cop, Police Story 3, I believe,
Hmm. Hmm.
like where she just does all these crazy stunts that puts her at risk. So it was very interesting to hear her say that. And that's
Hmm.
like going back to like the editing, like because I feel like with this movie, it's one of those movies that really shouldn't have work because this is
Yeah.
such a risky project to make, especially
Hmm.
with multiverse that like even before it became more prevalent now, like we haven't really seen like a multiverse film like this that goes way beyond that. And
Mhm.
with the incredible editing that I was surprised to know that like the team behind the editing like try to learn from YouTube to like really get down like the editing stuff. And there are
Mhm.
some like scenes in the film where it dives into like the multiverse transitions that are insane and they're super
Yes.
erratic, but it's not in a way that leaves you like confused or like convoluted or something like that. I mean, it will
Mhm.
get you overwhelmed at first view. Believe me, when I saw that shit in theaters, I
Oh,
was just
I could only imagine. I would be like, "Oh gosh." If you know the scene, you know the scene.
and it just really leaves you like on so many like levels of feeling that you're just like, okay, all right, like what's gonna happen next? And I gotta get props to like the editing team for creating something this insanely risky of a project and actually make it work out with the
Mhm.
transitions and like all the crazy different effects of the multiverse. It's a wonderful sight to see.
It really is. Just like all the match cuts are just so like swift and just like I just kind of like I think about like man, they were able to not only film like all the sequences, but also like film all these like small little aspects of the film all in 40 days. Like, that's crazy. Like, I just thinking, like, because there's just like really small, like, blink or you miss it scenes, but
Yes.
they pack so much detail. And and I'm just like, man, that just takes dedication. And like
Mm-hmm.
kind of moving a little bit away from the editing, but like we also have to give credit to the performances because
Mm-hmm.
like Michelle Yeoh, of course, is playing different characters, but who definitely plays different characters and does it so well is Kiwi Quan. Like seriously, he killed it. He is the heart of the film and like I don't know. I love his character of Wayman. Like he
Yes.
is so sweet, so supportive, but like you could tell like there's some strain in the film because I don't know. We could get into spoilers because it's been out for a while, but I'll put timestamps. But I mean, this is a mild spoiler, but he wants to divorce Evelyn, you know, because he kind of feels like she kind of doesn't take him seriously or doesn't even want to be with him anymore. And that breaks my heart so much because he's so sweet, but I could definitely tell like you know how she feels like that because in turn she's treating everyone like that too but what she goes through but let's talk more about Kiwi Kwan's performance like what do you think about his performance and like just thoughts about his character.
Like, I love Kiwi Kwan in this film. Like, he is such a sweet gentleman, just so kind-hearted of like a husband that is trying to like make things like so much better for like Evelyn and Joy. And like there's some points that like he surprised me when I first saw him in the film where he was like doing a lot of like fight choreography and I was like, God damn, like this guy is so fast and so swift. Like I did
Yes,
not know he had it in him.
you
And
right.
and it just felt like just amazing just to see him have like this much range, knowing the fact like one like the mainstream films that we last saw him in was like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And I just felt like
Mhm.
this is a way like quite like an inspirational story for him because I know for the fact that he was retired from acting for a really long time just because of
Mhm.
not
20
enough like
years.
yeah, just not enough
Mhm.
Asian American representation. And the only thing
Mhm.
that convinced him to go back to it was the cultural significance and financial success of Crazy Rich Asians that he decided to go back and try to act once again. And for this to be one the first film that he won return to is quite an inspirational story for a
It
lot of
is.
people that quit and want to go back in, miss the fun of it. And the fact that he got an Oscar for it just warms my heart so much. And his speech was also like just just a delight to see.
Oh, yeah, it's like, I was just like, "Look, I need to," like, going back to the conference, like, I was like, "I need to go back to my hotel before his, speech," before the Best Supporting Actor speech, because I was like, he swept all of award season, so I was like, "Okay, he's guaranteed to get this." Like, he's guaranteed to get Best Supporting, and he's so good, and, like, yeah, his speech was so amazing. I was in tears. Like, it's just like, it's really like, just don't give up on your dreams, because you just never know when your moment's going to come. And like, same thing with Michelle Yeoh too. Like, a long career, but now finally getting the recognition. And these are older actors. Like, they're not old, but they're like older when it comes to like the film industry. So it's
Mhm.
just really beautiful to see, people that are just like, just getting these accolades, who, like, if they had given up, we wouldn't have such a beautiful film like we have. And yeah, just thank you, Brandon, for like mentioning that. Like, it's definitely an inspirational story for sure. I
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, now after being so positive, I do kind of want to address the elephant in the room. Now we're talking about performances and award accolades,
I think I know what you're
award
talking about.
acclaims. You know what I'm talking about. Jamie Lee Curtis's win for her role as Deidre. And also she was competing, quote unquote, against Stephanie Shu,
Mhm.
because Stephanie Shu's in this playing Joy, and also, okay, spoiler, but also Jobu Tapaki.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, I just want to know your thoughts. How do you feel about Jamie Lee Curtis's win?
Well, like, as much as I do rather want Stephanie Shu to win, I guess I guess it's like I guess I'm like, hey, at least there's a win from this movie. I just wish it was towards the better actress in a way. Like, I didn't think she was awful. I thought she was still really good. I just felt like Stephanie Shu was just her character was just a lot more in depth and at least a lot more to be desired from her performance that really delivers so much. And Jamie Lee Curtis was like in it for like not as long, like way lesser than Stephanie Shu's character in the film. So,
Hmm.
like, and I know she's never won an award either. So I feel like this is probably like a long time coming. I just wish it
Hmm.
wasn't this film per se, but
I agree.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just like, well, I'm glad this movie won another award. So I guess that comes down to it in the long haul of things.
Right? Yeah, like, I have really complicated feelings about this too. Like, okay, I have to admit, when I when I saw it, I was like, I was surprised, but also low key kind of
Hmm.
pissed, because
Yeah.
like, okay, like, I was rooting for Angela Bassett that year, and also Stephanie Shu. Like, I was
Yes.
just like, either one of those two, I'll be happy,
Hmm.
because I was really confused about Jamie Lee Curtis's nomination just in general. Like, I was just kind of like, for the Deidre, the angry IRS lady, but
Yeah.
also like, the bagel cult member, but also the love interest of alternative,
Hot dog
Evelyn, with
fingers.
this with the hot dog fingers, like, like, really, like, what is this? Like, that's this is really how I felt, and I'm just kind of like, and I think she won the SAG too for best supporting. Like,
Really?
I have to double check, but like, and I think, I don't know who I was talking to about this. It was one of my mutuals, but it was like, they said, okay, if she got the SAG, then it's kind of over for the Oscars. And I'm like, no, you better not say that. Like, let me look this up before I like sound crazy. But let's see.
That is crazy though.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that point. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
SAG
she
Awards, you'll
she
get the Oscar.
did. Yeah, she did. That's what. Yeah, so she did win the SAG for Best Supporting, for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it's like, and that award is like, awarded from your peers. So it's like
Yeah.
actresses, awarding actresses and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay. I think that was because, and it's same thing with the Oscars voting too. It's like actresses, a part of the academy, vote for actresses. So I could really understand like it was kind of like a career defining moment. Like it was more so like a career Oscar, as they like to call it,
Mhm.
instead of like actual individual performance. Because like Jamie Lee Curtis, she's most known, prior to this, but really most known for like two films, the Halloween franchise and Freaky Friday.
I thought the same thing too.
So it's just like, and those are not gonna be like Oscar nominated. Now she's like has an Oscar nominated performance. I don't know why I'm doing quotation marks, but she's an Oscar nominated performance, and they're like, okay, let's just give her award, because you don't know if this is ever gonna happen again. Like that's kind of what it felt like.
No, yeah, I agree. Hopefully, like on the next film, Stephanie Hsu will be in that gives some fantastic performance. She'll get nominated, but we will definitely see on that end because I definitely felt like Stephanie Hsu should have like won, or like you said, Angela Bassett too, because I thought she was fantastic in that one as well.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people were rooting for Angela Bassett for Wakanda Forever, and
Mm-hmm.
that was an incredible performance. It's just also like if you could talk about like career actresses too, like Angela Bassett, like she had so many
Yeah.
performances that she could have gotten an Oscar, but now she has like an honorary Oscar, which is fine. But it's like, no, I would that she actually got an Oscar for like Wakanda Forever or What's Love Got to Do with It, or just like many other films. But back to like the story and like the lore of the movie, and also like Stephanie Hsu's performance.
Mm-hmm.
Like her character is just so complex, and like so, and we're going into spoilers again, so another timestamp thing, whatever, for spoilers. But this movie has been out for like almost 3 years. So do yourself a favor, save this
You're
this
right.
video slash podcast for later and come back because we got to dive deep into this. uh
Yes.
yes, but yeah, like, so as you mentioned before, Jobu Tapaki is wanting to destroy all the universes, all the multiverse. And it is revealed that Jobu Tapaki is Evelyn and Wyman's daughter, Joy. She wants to make, well, I'm kind of going ahead of myself, but she is making this thing called the bagel that she puts everything into, because
Mm-hmm.
some of the lore of this is that she was put through, so her alpha, her so her alpha dimension multiverse
Alphaverse.
person, her alpha verse rather, if you will, um got put under so much stress to jump dimensions that it malfunctioned. So now she sees everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to kind of cope with it, she made the what's called the bagel. So it's like all of these universes all at the same time. And she's using the bagel to destroy things. But then it gets revealed that she's wanting, well, I don't know. I kind of want to like put a pause to this. Let's put a pin to that because it does go into the ending. But like let's talk about like the whole existential crisis that she has, seeing everything at once, seeing all of her versions of herself at the same time, which is causing her so much stress. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you kind of feel about that whole lore?
Well, I do like when movies dive into like existentialism. So this is kind of like I love seeing that. So with something like this movie, like it was really interesting to see how Joy or Jobu Tupaki really feels about the whole multiverse as a whole. That she really feels like there's not much point to like everything because she feels like she's seen everything and like she wants to destroy everything and doesn't really have the acceptance or support from like anyone, like that she feels completely alone. That really does feel like it's just diving into like nihilism in a way
Yeah.
where it
Mhm.
just feels like nothing really matters anymore because like no one will believe her, no one will really like just hear her side of things, and she feels like her mom, Evelyn, will be like the final chance just because for her, like, she feels like this is the only person that she'll probably like deeply connect to in a way from like a mother daughter bond kind of ordeal where it dives into like the generational family of things that really takes a toll on her, especially when Evelyn like doesn't quite fully accept her daughter as a lesbian. So it just kind of left her feeling like an outsider. So therefore, she just kind of like leashes on everything in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I feel like both Joe Pataki and the bagel represents nihilism
Hmm.
because with her seeing all of her outcomes, she realizes that none of it really matters at the end, and all so she lashes out. A lot of depictions of nihilism in media really is like people are like, well, if nothing matters, then I'm just going to act out,
Hmm.
and I really like the depiction of nihilism in this movie that takes it upon like a deeper level instead of just like an angsty kid that has
Yes.
nihilistic beliefs. She's an angsty young adult, but the reason why she has these beliefs is because like of that generational trauma of her feeling like probably seeing her mom stressed out and kind of feeling like, nothing really matters, but also
Hmm.
kind of like having this like sense of hope, like what if my life was different? And then Joy is just trying so hard to just impress her mother and stuff, and because ultimately between Joy and Jobu, which are one and the same,
Hmm.
they're looking for Evelyn, all versions of Evelyn. So it ties back to that mother-daughter relationship and wanting that approval. But it's like, hey, if I don't matter to my mother, and then I'm seeing like in Jobu is probably seeing in all these universes, if I don't matter to the Evelyn character, then nothing else matters, and my outcome without her is the same. So it's just like, so that's why in the bagel, at least it's like revealed towards the end of the movie, is she didn't necessarily want to destroy Evelyn. She wanted to destroy herself because she's like, you know what, I just want to be at peace to know that nothing matters,
Hmm.
so I'm good. And then she's like, but Evelyn, if you want to come with me, like whatever, like as long as I'm with you and we just kind of hang out as rocks or whatever we are in this universe, whatever happens after we go into the bagel. And I
Yes.
just like, and I didn't really like catch that until like this most recent viewing. And I'm like, shoot, this is deep.
Yeah, and the thing is about it is that despite the fact that the movie like heavily dives into like nihilism, it doesn't left you feeling nihilistic or having
No, it
existential
doesn't.
crisis by the end of it. It still leaves you with hope. It still leaves you feeling like inspired and want to like chase out your dreams and all that stuff. It's just you just give like an understanding balance or build up of nihilism until it leads up to something positive by the end of it that will leave you wondering off the film, think about this film for a very long time.
Yeah, like even though it's like a deep nihilistic movie, there is some optimism in it, which because okay, like I mean, like there has been movies I've watched with like existentialism, but end up leaving the film feeling more existential.
Yes, I know that
And then
feeling.
it's just like, man, okay, this is our mutual Jay. Like, I was talking, oh, yeah, I think you might have been a part of this Discord chat, but when I watched Oppenheimer, I was like talking about how I felt really numb, like afterwards. And I was like, I just don't know why I'm feeling just so numb. And he's like, oh, that's nihilistic dread. And I'm like, that's it. So it's like,
Yeah.
so it's just like so it's just like, but that's just one, but like this one really does feel optimistic because with Evelyn's journey, she actually has a sense to explore because of these newfound gifts that, well, one, Alpha Wayman tells her about and tells her like, and it really does kind of explore like the hero's journey a bit too,
Mhm.
because it's like at first she's like, oh man, I don't know, I'm not special, because she's so stuck in like her Evelyn, her version that she knows, and then she sees all these versions, she's like, whoa, I'm actually like awesome. And but then she also goes into what her life would be like without Wayman. And she first thinks that it's amazing because she's this famous action star actress, but she reconnects with him in the other multiverse, and he's like, "You know what? I would be fine if we were just doing laundry and doing taxes." And then
That was
she's
a cry too.
yeah, literally, yeah, and I that part always gets me. You know, it kind of like this whole movie reminds me of just appreciating the little things
Yes.
because you could possibly not have that in another universe. And this movie actually really made me think about like the multiverse in a different level, and it's like, oh yeah, the scene with the rocks too, like when when Evelyn and Joy are literally rocks,
Yes.
like, and they talk about how we are kind of like as humans, we're just like stupid little beings. But until we learn more about ourselves, and Joy gives the example of like first we thought the sun revolved around the earth, but then we realized that the earth revolves around the sun, and then there's multiple suns, and there's just multiple other planets, and like that's something that I always kind of think about, just like to humble myself a little bit. Like I look up into the sky, look at the stars, and I'm just like, wow, there's billions of stars. Like there's, billions of people out there in a world. Like we are just so tiny. And like sometimes that's really scary to people, but I feel like that's a little bit comforting because it's like I'm not alone, you know?
We're just speckles, particles of specks, just like our dear friend Horn Hears a Who has
Yes.
rightfully tells us.
Exactly. Like that's another optimistic existential story.
Yes.
It's just like we could be like we could be a part of a flower, and held by an elephant. Like who knows? So it's just like that story. It's just like, okay, are there multiples of me? Are the little decisions that I'm making actually affecting someone else? And then another thing that I thought about too is that I picked up from this viewing is that, or just got reminded of, is that even like the mistakes that she made in her different multiverses that actually made her stronger. Like I think about the one where she trips and she becomes blind, but she actually becomes a really good singer from
Mhm.
that and stuff. So it's just like I just find that really fascinating because it's like we could think about that in our own lives. Like sometimes something could be a fail, but it actually moves you forward and actually makes you a better person.
Yes.
I know I just
100%.
said a lot. So, like,
No,
kind
you're
of what do
good.
you think?
No, I agree with that 100% because, like, if we just live our lives not making any mistakes, we will not really be able to evolve as people, as better people. So, with our own mistakes that we make throughout our lives, whether it be like starting from childhood to right now, essentially, it really helps us to like evolve ourselves and keep moving forward in our lives. Know that we're just people, we always make mistakes and we always keep moving forward.
Most definitely. And I think like addressing the generational trauma aspect of it too. Evelyn realizes that she's like, wow, I'm like very similar to Joy, even though I thought like, okay, maybe things would have been better, but she realizes the generational trauma between her and her father because she decided to leave to the US with Wayman, and then she is noticing that she's pushing Joy out
Mm.
by not accepting her daughter. So it's just like, I just really like how everything is tied up, but like the ultimate theme of this movie is about kindness, and Wayman is like the epitome of that.
Yes.
And I just think that is just so beautiful, like from such a complex story, the the answer is just simple. It's just be kind to people.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that as well. Like, not only just dives into like kindness, especially with Wayman being like the kindest character of the entire film, but dives into family, not just like acceptance from anyone, just like family acceptance as well. Because I know family like will mean a lot to them in terms of them just being just basically having a different sense of like cultural aspect that your family are not familiar with, and sometimes they have their own expectations of what their child want to be. They want to be like this, or they want to be this, or something like that. And
Mhm.
so with them having different decisions that go not even close to their expectation, like it's just something that like people have to like at least accept, and if not, then there's gonna be some issues, and like the family bond is gonna be broken. So I like the fact that it dives into family bonds in that
Mhm.
perspective, and how it also just leans into family acceptance, that no matter what your sexuality or what you identify as, like family will always try to be there for you to accept who you are and make you feel like you're part of the family. And that's just something that really held such a importance to this film that dives into the themes of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm not a parent, but it kind of like if I'm gonna have a kid in the future, it really makes me think about how I want to parent because
Hmm.
it's like, you do pass things on to your kids, even your anxieties to your kids. And
Yes.
and there's so much projection that you can do because ultimately you're not raising kids, you're raising adults and they're going to make their own decisions,
Hmm.
but you have to be supportive in that. And one thing that I really thank my parents about, like even with my different creative endeavors and decisions I've made, they've always been so supporting like 110%. Even with like this podcast and stuff, my mom is just like so excited about that and my content creation and whatnot. And like even my dad, even though he doesn't fully understand it, he like reads articles and he's like, "Oh, you should check this out," or like, "Did you hear about this like film festival and stuff?" Like it's so cool. So it's just like I'm just really thankful that I have that. And like, and even like with like found family too, you just have to kind of find your people, but also
Yes.
realize for yourself, like, hey, with my own children, let's break these generational curses because even when the things are just so chaotic around us, what we have is love and kindness at the end of the day.
Yes, and diving into the family from my
Hmm.
background, because when I first watched it, I watched it with my mom, and
Hmm.
she kind of knew what it's about, but she wanted to see it just for Michelle Yeoh, since
Yeah.
she is a huge fan of her. And then when we watched this movie, like I was definitely having a good time, and so was the rest of the audience. My mom fell asleep watching this movie.
Oh.
And I was like, how in the flying hell did you fall asleep to one of the most fastest paced films ever? And then by the time the movie's over, we like talked about the film, and well, I guess kind of surprised me. She didn't like the movie, which I find she thought was like really stupid. She like was not really a fan of this whole idea, which I just find interesting because I feel like this movie, in a way, should resonate with my mom, especially with her being a parent. And
Hmm.
but I also just find it interesting, like when you talked a little bit, like don't understand, but like try to like accept things as this, because like whenever my mom and I had discussion over films that we both have different opinions, I always try to understand where she's coming from. like like for example, Sound of Freedom, like she really
Oh yeah.
liked the movie and then I didn't, and she was listening to what I had to say about it, and she was like understanding, and all she says like, hey, as long as you give it a chance, that's all that really matters. And I was like, yep, same goes with you. And so with something like Everything Ever All at Once, I was listening to what she said. I was probably just laughing just because I was like, wow, like I'm really fascinated why you don't like this movie. And I'm just like, don't know how to feel about this, but hey, I'm
Hmm.
laughing. So
Hmm.
so it was just interesting to dive into like that sense, like perspectives, and really understand where people are coming from in terms of why they feel this way, or why their beliefs lean into that perspective. And in retrospect, that is really interesting to dive.
I think my mom, when she watched this movie, like, I don't think she understood it, like, whatsoever. Like, I asked her, I was just like, because, I think yeah, because I asked her about it, like, this was a while ago, but I was
Hmm.
just like, "Hey, so what'd you think of the movie?" She was like, "It's a lot. They talked about a lot of things."
That's how
And
my
I'm just kind
mom
of like,
feels.
"You probably didn't get it."
That's how my mom feels by A24 films. Every time we watch something like The Green Knight, she's like, well, that was different. And then we just move on from there.
Like, yeah, so and I don't know if, like, my mom really cared for the nihilistic message ever, but, either, but because, she's very, like, optimistic and whatnot, but
Mhm.
it's just kind of but even within the nihilism of this movie, it does talk about, like, "Hey, at least we have each other and we have little moments of clarity," and it is, like, very positive within that whole thing.
Mhm.
So I was just like, yeah, but it does take a couple watches. Like, I'm not gonna even front. Like, it takes me like I've seen this movie probably like no, not 3 times. Like I've seen it probably like 4 or 5 times at this point, and like I'm like now starting to go like, oh, I get it. Like I own it too, but I'm just like I understand it more and more every time I watch it, and like some people say that's like good, some people say that's bad. But one thing that's really interesting is that some people on the internet are calling this movie overrated. So, what are your thoughts on people thinking that this movie is overrated?
All right, so this is where it gets really deep here.
Yes.
It's interesting to me because I always like to like understand where people are coming from because everybody has their own sense of opinion and like whatever different it is, I'll always try to understand and read it because I know when it comes to like films being overrated, like whenever a film comes out and has like a huge impact on it, give it like a few months to like years or something like that, then it's gonna lead to that sense of like expectations of what people think this movie is going to do. So with something like Everything Ever All at Once, if I say to people who have never seen the film, say like, "This is the best film ever. This is like amazing. It's a masterpiece. You should go see it." It just kind of leaves them thinking like, "Oh, so I'm going to think it's like my new favorite film as well." And there's a
Mhm.
good chance they're not, especially with like all the film fans just loving this movie that for some people who haven't seen it, it's just kind of left them feeling like shit, I guess I should watch it, like almost like feel some form of like obligation in a way. And then when they
Mhm.
watch it, that they're either in the same similar bandwagon, or they'll just think it's different, or like they don't really like it because of the set of expectations that people have in mind when there was something like this that came out like years ago. And to this day, this movie still like has a impact that people have been saying it's one of the best science fiction ever. It's my personal favorite, which is crazy. In fact, took like over 10 years until I finally found a movie that like, oh, this finally beats Shawshank Redemption is my new favorite film. So
Mhm.
with something like the term overratedness, like I guess it just depends on like people's perception on it that like feels very like understandable and justified and not just like come across as, oh, you're just trying to be different, or like you don't like you're just saying that just to get rouse some people up. So like if there are people who generally do not like think similar ways as we did, I always like to try to understand like where people are coming from. There are like some of my favorite films. Like I got my girlfriend to watch The Lighthouse with me. I love the movie. She did not like the movie at all. And I was like,
I
oh
love The
man,
Lighthouse. It's so good.
same here. But I was like, oh, I really want to hear your perspective on it. And when she talked about it, I was like, okay, yeah, I get that. I was again laughing. I was like, oh, this is like so I'm hearing so much passion of how you feel about this movie that it's very fascinating to me. So whenever like people think this was overrated, I don't personally agree that it's overrated. I think it's like perfectly rated, but I'm also
Mhm.
biased towards the film, so like it just kind of like doesn't help on that in retrospect. But
Mhm.
I'm always like curious to hear like what people say about it on the of the opposite side. It's always been fascinating to me. It makes you like
Yeah.
open minded and really like think about films, and then not so like narrow minded where I feel like, oh, like I like this movie and anyone doesn't like this movie or something like that. But I'm like
Mhm.
just like you have like a broad sense of like mindset, just like, oh, like just know where people are coming from, and leads to like very interesting conversation. Because if we all had the same opinion over the film, the world would be so boring. And we're
Yeah.
just over here just like like you love it, yeah, I love it too, like and that's pretty much all you can get from the discussion, really.
We will all be rocks if we all like the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with your takes and everything. Like, I really like hearing other people's opinions about stuff if it's like a sound opinion, right? Because there's been times on this podcast where I've kind of ranted about people's like really stupid opinions, but
Yes.
but because they literally didn't have like any merit at all. But I do agree with like, hey, you didn't like this movie, like tell me more about that. And it's not me egging people on. Some people say
Yes.
that to like egg people on, but it's like, no, like genuinely, why didn't you like this movie? Instead of just saying, oh, it sucks. It's like, okay, well, why did it suck? Why is it overrated? Like, some of the arguments that I've seen for this movie, it's kind of like all style and no substance, which I kind of disagree with. And then another one is like saying that I read somewhere is you shouldn't have to watch a movie a couple times to really understand it, which I'm like, okay, that's kind of more of a personal preference. Some
Hmm.
movies I like because it makes it a fun rewatch. But I'm also kind of the type of person's like, I feel like I shouldn't do my homework before watching a film, and I've said that
Yes.
opinion on this podcast too. But that comes for like, I don't want to have to watch like 20 other films before I watch the most recent one. Where
Yeah.
this one is just like, oh, I want to revisit it, because if it's like, because I don't really like movies that spoon feed everything to you, unless if
Same
it's
here.
like, a movie that's clearly geared towards like younger audiences. Like, yeah, you kind of have to spoon feed it. But yeah, I think what really keeps the cinephile community really rich is the differences of opinion and perspective.
Hmm.
Because if we're all saying Pulp Fiction is amazing, then well, what is there to be? You know what I mean? Even though that's an amazing movie, but it's like it has some I do respect like the critiques. Like, some people say that movie's overrated, so it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, which I don't think Pulp Fiction is amazing, in my opinion, but hey, you know.
There we go. Differences of opinions. And I think that's like, it makes us different because we're all like human. But anyway, we'll just like segue out of here talking about everything everywhere all at once. I think this is just such an awesome movie. It's worth revisiting. I think it aged really well. Like, I think it
Hmm.
actually aged a little bit better because right now we're kind of seeing that the world is being a little bit chaotic right now. Like, regardless of, kind of what you believe, the world is getting chaotic.
Hmm.
So we need a film like this that kind of keeps you grounded a little bit and kind of addresses like, yes, there's a lot of chaos both in the world but also internally that you might be feeling, but just remember to be kind to each other. Like, that's
Hmm.
my biggest takeaway after seeing this again.
Yeah, like my biggest takeaway from the film is that no matter who you are, who what your sexuality lies in, like just always know, just you'll be always accepted by people who genuinely do care about you, and that everybody will always try to like understand, like try to understand. There's gonna be people who try to understand, there's people who don't, and just try to leave those people behind. What also, like, for Asian people who like watch this movie, it's just again really nice to see a mainstream film like this with a mostly Asian comprised cast that really give their all with such passion and heart from the filmmakers, that they really want to make this happen, and with all the creative liberties they can make to give their sense of like creative integrity towards the film, to really make this feel like art in a way that you can connect to, you can understand, and you can even relate to in some level, even if you're not Asian person. So I thought with this movie, it's a perfect like combination of just like existentialism, nihilism, surrealism, humor, but also like make it grounded, make it dive into family acceptance, make it end on a very optimistic note that even when things get chaotic, always keep that optimism around, because everybody's have their bad days, but we're always gonna have that good day like afterwards, that really makes life feel genuine and make it feel worth it by the end of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to describe this movie. It definitely hits different and hits all those notes. But thank you, Brandon, for being a part of this episode. This was so much fun talking to you about this movie. I was so excited. Is there
Likewise.
anything you want to plug? Any socials, anything, or any projects or cool things you're working on?
So as of right now, I'm like, if like TikTok goes away, you can always follow me on Lampad97. I do like memes, reviews, or even my thoughts on music. There's always Instagram. I'm Brand.White. Letterbox, Lampad. Might be thinking of getting doing a YouTube channel. We'll see where that sale lies, because I know that's a different challenge to like try to figure that out. But just stuff that I just keep thinking about here and there. But that's pretty much it.
Awesome. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Megan's World on Instagram and Letterbox. And then if you were listening to this podcast episode, audio version, we are also on YouTube. So we're at YouTube at Tea and Popcorn. And yeah, and if you're listening on YouTube, we have an audio version of this. And we have a podcast page called Tea and Popcorn Pod on Instagram. So yeah, thank you. And have a great day and support unique cinema.
Support. They really need it.
Yes.